We begin our top stories this morning with news that at least 4 people have been killed after a high-rise building under construction collapsed in Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos, with dozens of others feared trapped inside. What you can see on the screen are clips of the rubble of the 21-floor building on Monday in Lagos, Ikoyi district. And we must warn you that some of the clips that you are about to see, you might find them very, very disturbing.
A very dark day and a sad way to start the month of November in the commercial capital of Lagos. Now, rescue officials said many workers were caught inside the building when it crumbled, though they could not confirm the number of people trapped.
It's a sad incident, and if you recall that this actually took place yesterday, it was something that actually struck a lot of Lagosians. First of all, people who lived around that vicinity talked about the sound and the trembling, a little quake that was felt on the around the neighboring area, and then it went ahead to actually bring this form of fear that what could have happened. But there's so many stories concerning this, which we're also going to talk about right now, and we must also let you in on the fact that it is being rumored and it's being alleged that the constructor, the engineer, the person in charge of course, the building and all that, was also part of those who actually lost their lives, so to say. But let's hope that we have a civil and structural engineer who will be joining us pretty soon. But you can see in the video on the screen right there, that's him. That's him.
All right, and we also have the civil and structural engineer, Chinedu Emmanuel Onyeka, who joins us from New York this morning. Many thanks for joining us. Let's begin by understanding, why we have recorded and we keep recording numerous incidents of building collapse in Nigeria, especially in Lagos.
Yeah, good morning. I think most buildings collapse essentially in Nigeria for a couple of reasons. I'd say, first and foremost, design failures. Some of these buildings are poorly designed. Even when they're actually designed, there is no oversight. There is no review of those designs to see if they're actually done right. And second of all, if they pass through the stage of being designed properly, another thing that comes to mind is construction failures, bad technical know-how. You know, when you give a good design to someone that doesn't know how to build it, you know, the design is as good as nothing. All right. So what are the possible construction failures that could happen? You know, people could use the wrong materials, especially in Nigeria. People try to cut corners. You know, maybe the engineer designed for particular material strength, particular size of reinforcement, normally called rods, and they try to use a cheaper version, and a lot of other issues. Also, apart from the design failures, other issues that could cause problems are foundation problems. You know, because for a building of that scale, say 21-story building, it's not something that you want to joke with. You want to make sure that the foundation that is going to hold that building, because it's a massive building, is appropriate. The different types of foundation, you want to go as far in depth as possible, and you want to make sure that the size of the foundation can carry the building itself. It's just like, you know, you see, if a person cannot carry his own weight, the person is going to collapse. Just as you can see, you know, people that don't have good legs, they can't stand. So it's just the whole idea. You know, I would rule out overloading in this case because the building has not even seen the load that it was designed for in the first place. So this building that collapsed in Lagos could not essentially carry its own weight. And it's a shame.
All right.
You know, and I hope people are going to be held accountable for this.
All right, Chinedu, you're talking to us all the way from New York, where you're very, very used to seeing tall, high-rise buildings, edifices, and so on. But as a structural engineer as well, could you walk us through the steps of that one needs to consider before an edifice of this magnitude is actually erected?
First of all, the most important thing that has to happen when you want to build a building, be it a tall building or a short building, is the first and foremost thing you have to do feasibility studies. What does that entail? It entails going to the site, seeing what's going on, and depending on the scale of the building, you have to do soil tests. We have to know the nature of the ground that's going to support this building. Like you said, foundation is the core of everything. If the foundation is bad, it is very difficult to fix. So after different soil tests, we're not going into details of that, then the engineer is going to understand what is under the ground, and based on that, is going to use those results to determine the type of foundation that's going to be used and how deep the foundation is going to go. So all of those things in the design phase. After that, then you design the building and all the structural elements. A building of that scale has different structural elements, normally called columns, or I would say pillars, for those that do not understand the term, and then a couple of other slabs. So those are the structural elements that are going to carry the building. The columns is the pillars, the slabs, and some other elements. So these elements have to be properly designed for different weight. So after all the design is done, I guess by a company, usually there should be a review team. And also, after this building is designed, I believe in Nigeria, there should be a process where it has to go through some government approval process to check that these designs can actually work in those areas. And then you have to get some permits. Like in the States, you have to get permits for any building that you want to build. And before you can get those permits, they're going to make sure that that building can stand. Because if a building collapses, you don't kill one person, you kill in mass. Like when I was in engineering school, a professor always tells us that a doctor could kill somebody one at a time. But an engineer, a civil engineer, when you want to kill people, you kill in mass.
All right. Now,
So
Chinedu,
those things have to be
looking
considered.
at the situation and looking at the information that we have out there, it says that this project was 80% completed. And it also came out to also say that people had paid for parts of this building, and the price of the building was going from $1.25 million to $5 million. 60% of this project had been sold off already, and this happens. It is a sad one for people who have invested heavily in this kind of project. Don't you think?
I mean, I think it's very, very sad. And from the amount of money you're calling, it doesn't sound that money was a problem. So I don't know why why what went wrong, because the building has not even been constructed. It hasn't been completed. It's been 80% finished, like you said, but there's still a long way to go. So, it baffles me that these kind of things can happen, and it keeps happening.
All right, Chinedu, let me ask you one last question before we let you go. When incidences like this take place, just as it happened in the United States recently, a few months back, that took days before they could actually call it quits from the rescue team, who is to be held responsible first, especially now that we're hearing that the engineer and, of course, the owner of this particular property was also involved? But who is to be held responsible first, and what are the steps to be taken in order to ensure that the families that have actually been affected are taken care of?
I think the steps are supposed to be taken before you point fingers, because a lot of things could go wrong in the building. A thorough forensic analysis should be done to know what actually caused the building to fail. And from there, we can know the people that are responsible. If we were the design team that were responsible, then we have to go over, and hold the engineers responsible. If it was the people that were the construction engineers or the site engineers, to know if they were the people that were at fault, and then those people should be held accountable, and appropriate compensation should be made to the families of the victims.
Right. Now, we know that the Lagos state government, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has come out to say investigation should be underway for this particular sad incident that happened in Lagos. But thank you so much, civil and structural engineer Chinedu Emmanuel Onyeka, for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
All right, so there you have it. Just as we mentioned earlier on the program, we also were able to see the owner of that building right there on the screen. And there was also a statement. There was also a release, a press release, if you'd like to call it that way, from the previous constructors who came out to say that they wanted no part of this construction. They weren't going to take part in it anymore. And that's what you find on the screen right there. Proposed Gerard Terraces for Foursquare Limited. There they made it clear that they regret the decision of not wanting to take part, and the reason why they have to actually pull out. It's a sad incident, but we covered that story earlier on as soon as it happened. Our reporter Bernard Akede was on ground, and he will be on ground pretty soon, so you can be rest assured that we'll give you updates on that story. But in the meantime,